Hi, my name is Susanna Deves, and this is my project on sugar-sweetened beverage consumption and body mass index. For background, obesity is obviously an epidemic in New York and around the world. The percentages are just continuing to increase as time goes on. New York adults who are overweight or obese has increased from 42% to 60.8% from 1997 to 2016. The obesity rate has risen from 16% to 25.5% from 1997 to 2016. 13.8% of adolescents in New York were overweight. 10.6% of adolescents in New York had obesity. And obesity is associated with many chronic diseases, including type 2 diabetes, heart disease, cancer, stroke, and many more. So for our project, the data set that we used is called Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System, BREFIS. This project collected data from all 50 of the states in the United States and from the participating U.S. territories. The BREFIS is administered by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, and this was a cross-sectional study that was conducted using telephone surveys with questions about risk behavior, chronic health conditions, if people had access to healthcare, and if they use preventative services. And because this data set was so large, we had to create a subset of data and restrict just to New York residents from 2016. The specific aim of the study was to determine if there was an association between the sugar-sweetened beverages and BMI for New York residents. The outcome of interest was body mass index, BMI. This is calculated as kilograms divided by meters squared from height and weight. The individuals that were underweight, who had a BMI of less than 18.5, or severely obese individuals with BMIs over 40, were not included in the study because they wanted to eliminate confounding results. So these individuals may have had other health problems or unusual eating habits. The exposure of interest is the sugar-sweetened beverage, the SSB, and this is the total weekly drink consumption of these beverages. And there are 4 levels that we made. There were 0 drinks per week, less than 1 drink per week, 1 to 7 drinks per week, and more than 7 drinks per week. The covariates we used were sex, which was a binary variable because it was male and female, age, which was continuous, Hispanic ethnicity, which was binary, it was either a yes or no question, race, which was categorical because it had 3 levels, white, black, and other. Education was a categorical variable with 3 levels, high school graduate or less, some college or college graduate. Income was a categorical variable with 3 levels, 25,000, 25,000 to 50,000, or making less than or making more than $50,000 per year. Physical activity was a binary variable because it was either yes or no within the last 30 days. History of cardiovascular disease was binary variable because it was yes or no. And ever being diagnosed with diabetes was a binary variable with a yes or no answer. The statistical software we used was called Stata, and we used version 15.0 for this analysis. We used complex survey weights to apply. Simple and linear regression was used to see if there was any association with sugary sweetened beverages and body mass index. We checked our assumptions with linear regression, with residual plots, CPR plots, and QQ plots. So overall in this study, 22,572 participants were analyzed. 32% overall did not consume any sugary beverages. 32% of these individuals normal weight, 33% were overweight, and 30% were obese. 28% of these individuals drank 1 to 7 sugary beverages per week. 30% of these individuals were normal weight, 28% were overweight, and 27% were obese. 19% of these individuals overall drank more than 7 sugary beverages per week. 18% had normal weight, 19% were overweight, and 21% were obese. Men were more likely to be overweight, 59%, or obese, 52%, than having a normal weight, 42%. The participants that are high school graduates or less had the highest percentage of obese individuals with 34%. The group with the highest percentage of normal weight was the college graduate participants with 41%. 81% of the individuals reported that they had participated in physical activity in the last 30 days, had a normal BMI. 70% of the participants that responded yes to physical activity within the last 30 days were obese. Participants that reported they had a history of cardiovascular disease were 5% normal weight, 9% overweight, and 11% obese. Participants that reported they had been diagnosed with diabetes was 4%, which were normal weight, 10%, which was overweight, and 18%, which was obese. The unadjusted model shows that there is not a significant association between BMI and consuming less than 1 or 1 to 7 sugary beverages per week. Consuming more than 7 sugary beverages per week had an increase of 0.43 units BMI. Consuming 0 to 1 sugary beverages per week had an increase of 0.49 units BMI. No physical activity in the last 30 days is associated with having an increased risk of 0.73 units BMI. Just being female lowered the risk for having a high BMI of negative 0.81 units. Being a college graduate also lowered the risk for having a higher BMI of negative 0.82 units. Not being Hispanic ethnicity lowered the risk of having a high BMI of negative 0.54 units BMI. So in conclusion, after analyzing the data set that was provided by the BRIFIS, sugary beverage consumption is associated with having an increased BMI. And obviously, similar to sugary beverage consumption, lack of physical activity is also associated with having a higher BMI. And the results showed that participants with higher education of some college experience or being a college graduate had lower BMIs. So that's why it's so important to promote education, physical activity, and not to drink sugar-sweetened beverages. So the results show that the sugar-sweetened beverages consumption is associated with weight gain and obesity. And these drinks don't really have any nutritional value, and they only cause harm to our bodies. So my proposed research intervention is about adding warning labels to sugary beverages. I think we should do this because it's really simple, it's low cost, it's effective, it alerts individuals of the risks of consuming these beverages, to hopefully change the people's perceptions of the drinks, and evidence does show that its potential positive impact. My target population would be to adults and children, or anybody who consumes sugary sweetened beverages because of the risks involved. My main goal is to obviously reduce sugar sweetened beverage consumption and just to raise awareness of the negative health effects that they do cause. And the justification behind this intervention is just that everyone has the right to know what's in their beverages, and they should know the risks involved. To assess the effectiveness, well, it's similar to tobacco warnings and how they increase knowledge of the health risks, and hopefully this will deter youth and adults from consuming these beverages, and also, like I mentioned before, to change people's perceptions of the drinks. And these are my references. Thank you.